Hello everybody, welcome to Not Another Isekai episode 2. Should I be saying the episode numbers? Because I feel like at some point I'm going to forget. Episode 2, I'm Tyler, and this is the show where we talk about the currently airing anime, what you should be watching, what you shouldn't be watching. How many are Isekai? Probably too many. That's the case with every season. Too many Isekai. And yeah, today we got a good episode, right? We're coming off the heels of last episode, obviously. And the most anime staying pretty strong this season. This season is a pretty tough one. A pretty tough one. This one adds a lot of anime that I think are going to go down as like some of the best anime of the entire year. And right at the end of the year, I wonder if studios plan that in any sense. I wonder how much studios care about like awards, like there isn't really like a anime awards necessarily, but how there's like the Oscars and stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of movies like to have been released later on in the year because then you kind of remember them, right? It's the same thing with like the whole recency bias, right? You drop your album at a certain time of the year right before the Grammys. You publish your video game quarter 4, so you get that sweet video game awards recognition. I wonder if anime does that as well. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna be talking about some anime today. Yeah, let's get into it, right? So let's start with Spy Family Season 2. Updated the graphic too if you're watching on YouTube. Remember last time I didn't write Season 2 at the bottom, so it's very important to me. But yeah, Spy Family Season 2, we're talking about Episode 3 today. I'm going to try to say the episode numbers at the top, because I was very bad at that last time. Spy Family Season 2, Episode 3. This is the one where we left off, and Lloyd was about to shoot the dog. I totally forgot, because again, I've read the manga, so I totally forgot if he actually does that. But he doesn't. He shoots the bomb jacket off the dog, which is great. It's so Twilight, where it's like precise, where I'm sure a lesser spy would have just taken the dog out and been like, that's how it is, I'm sorry, but that's how it is. There was a lot of action this episode, and then some like heartfelt stuff as well, which is I think one of the best things about Spy X Family, because we start off a lot of action, like I said, and Yor continues to be the scariest character in this whole show, because she kicked a car off the road. Like she spun around, kicked the side of the car, like on the passenger door, basically, as it was coming at her. Spun around, dodged it, kicked the side of the door so that it careened off and hit like a telephone pole. Crazy. Like the strength, like the crazy strength that has to be like needed for something like that is absolutely wild. So again, yours is the one. Again, it goes back to season 1 as well, where if you remember Drunk Yor, when she was like play fighting with Lloyd when they were doing their whole like bond man like recreation thing as a present to Anya, basically. She was lethal. Like if she like given maybe a few more minutes, Yor might have killed Lloyd in that moment. We don't know. But yeah, so we move on a little further. We got Anya threaten Lloyd to keep the dog. Anya is very smart. She is still a kid, which I think so far has been played very well as a character, because while she is telepathic and she can read minds, she is still a child. So we see that eke out every now and again. But her being very clever in this moment is her being like, I'm gonna be bad at school, and Lloyd is like, why are you talking about school? Why is that all of a sudden? But because Anya knows that Lloyd has a mission. Lloyd's a spy. He has a mission. He has to keep her in school, get them Stella stores, save the world, basically. And so Anya knows exactly where to hit Lloyd in that moment. And let's see what else they did. We had some crazy flashbacks too to Bond, who we now know the dog is now named Bond, which is perfect. We had some crazy flashbacks there too with Bond kind of reliving what happened to him when he was being tortured and all that. And it's awful, Like I think I mentioned it last episode as well, but that's like one of the worst things you can do as a character, as a villain in any piece of media, is like hurt animals. I would say dogs especially, because people just associate dogs with being happy and like carefree and like lovable, and obviously they're pets. So like hurting a dog in a movie or a show or something is like number one offense. And so all this like torture of like barely feeding it and like electrocuting it and like being like, oh, I don't care if it dies because there's gonna be another one. That's like immediately like after season 1, like there's like terrorists and whatever, and like terrorists bad, right? Terrorists equal bad. But with them hurting dogs, it's like, oh no, okay, you are worse than any terrorism group that has ever existed. So there's that. And let's see, and then pretty much moving on to the more like heartfelt side of things, and the more like comedic aspect of this show is Damien was not impressed with Dog. Damien has this real like tsundere energy. And it's really funny whenever him and Anya have any sort of interaction. And so he said, oh, whatever, and that like destroyed Anya. And then he didn't like that Anya was like super upset, so he was like, oh, whatever, like what's the name? I guess I don't mind asking you what the name is. And she didn't have a name, so she just said Dog. And it's like, come on, Anya, you gotta be better than that. You gotta do better than that. Come on. And then it was also really cute, later on in the episode when Anya was asking all the other pet owners, like, how did you name your dog? Because she doesn't know. She's never had a pet before. She came up with Dog. She came up with Peanuts. Like her friend, I forget what her friend's name is, but was basically just throwing down all of her ideas of like, this isn't good. You should just let your mom and dad name your dog. So she, again, kind of clever to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna gather data, and I'm gonna ask other people, hey, how'd you name your dog? What's your dog's name? She came up with an awful set of names after that, but it's the logic, the scientific method is there. And moving on to even more sad stuff, like Lloyd is still thinking about the eventual end of this family. Like you can tell he's getting attached. Earlier on he definitely wasn't. It was just a mission, but you can tell now like he kind of does care, and like he is kind of entrenched in the emotional connection to both Yor and Anya. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but like I believe, because again, like I don't want to spoil anything, but like I read this earlier part so long ago that I don't even really remember how it pans out. But I believe that continues to happen, where like Yor, not that Lloyd shirks on his responsibilities, but like he does get more and more attached, and it does feel more like a family. And even what was her name, like Commander or something, you can tell that she can tell, and she's like, oh, like he's caring about them, they're caring about him. It's a whole thing. And then Anya named him Bond, which is perfect, right? Like what else was she gonna name him? Again, like Peanuts, a close second. A close second to her favorite thing in the world, but we got Bond, and it makes sense. We got the tie, he got the little glove things. It's great. So yeah, episode 3 of season 2, Spy Family, I think was a nice continuation. We got a new member of the family, which is always fun. And yeah, even in the background, which it's funny to think that you almost push the east and west stuff to the back of your mind, like it's almost pushed to like the B plot of of the story. But we did get more of that, of like moves are happening, moves are being made, so we'll see. Again, it's gonna continue on. We'll see if if the dog actually brings any sort of usefulness in terms of being connected with Damien and all that. Yeah, good stuff, man. Spy Family's always solid. You can always count on it. Next, we got My Hero Academia Season 6, Episodes 3 and 4. So 3 and 4. Doubled up on this one because I missed Episode 3. This one, a lot of stuff happened. I think I like these 2 episodes more than I like the previous 2 episodes, even though Mirko's the best character so far in the season. But in these couple episodes, it got dark. You know, it got real dark, especially with Twice and Hawks. You know, Twice felt very betrayed by Hawks. You know, Twice has his whole thing where he's messed up a bunch of times and he's just trying to like hang out with everyone almost. You know, but he is kind of seen as a failure. And you know, he even talked about how like this sort of thing happened to him before, where he trusted someone and got betrayed, and now it's happening to him again. This big plan with the League of Villains, he feels that it's all gone to just dirt because of him. You know, it's tough. And then Hawks is there, and you know, these 2 episodes, I think, you know, I'm gonna go through some like highlights and stuff, but you know, I feel like these 2 episodes really played with an idea. And again, I don't remember if they've done this before in the show. There has been 5 previous seasons, so they might have. I mean, even with like Stain and whatever. But like, I feel like these 2 episodes really brought up a nice conversation of like, what is a hero, and like what should a hero be, what should a hero do. You know, even with Twice talking about like, is this what heroes do? You know, they just turn their backs on people down on their luck and people who are in need. You know, because you could argue that that's what every villain is. Again, you can make an argument. I'm not saying that's true for every single villain, but you could say this is just a person that's down on their luck and they had a quirk, and so they did what they had to do. You know, that sometimes happens in real life as well. You know, we don't have to get into that too much, but it sometimes happens in real life where it's just like, you do what you got to do to survive sometimes. You know, it doesn't necessarily excuse, you know, you doing terrible things, but if you go back to the My Hero world, it's like, what else is there? You know what I mean? You know, so but yeah, so I really like that whole thing that they played with these couple episodes, with Twice and Hawks being at like kind of the like forefront, you know, the 2 focal points on 2 opposite ends of a conversation like this. We have Tsukuyomi using his dark shadow, and he found like that big monster thing, which hasn't come out yet. You know, probably next episode, something like that. I just wanted to make a note of that because one, it's cool to see Tsukuyomi being even stronger, because his character design is so cool and fun, and you know, his whole design and his whole like gimmick kind of reminds me of Raven from the Teen Titans, and Raven is my favorite character in the Teen Titans, so I kind of have like a little bit of a soft spot for Tsukuyomi. Love him. So, you know, and also on top of that, I like to see characters get stronger. You know, like it's always fun when you have shonen that have a lot of characters and you see them grow and develop, and it's not just like, oh, we haven't seen this character do anything in a season, what are they up to now? Oh, the same stuff. Okay, whatever. Like, no, it's cool to be like, you know, Tsukuyomi taking Hawk's advice and like getting, you know, trying to round out your weaknesses, but also don't forget about your strengths, you know, which sounds like super obvious, but it's true. You know, it's not just like, you know, you don't have to pick just one. You know, don't get entrenched in what you're good at, but also don't just focus on building up your weaknesses. Like, you're also good at this, like, you know, make this your weapon, you know, make this the one thing you go to, the, you know, all reliable, right? Moving along, we have Dobby. It's like Dobby from Harry Potter. Dobby stopped Hawks from killing Twice, which in the moment was like really nice, and like, oh man, he cares about him. But like, you know, basically Dobby and Hawks fight a lot, right? You know, throughout the episode, and like, it gets weird because like there's a moment where it's like, oh, Dobby cares about Twice, and then it's like, Dobby I think is gonna not care if Twice dies, and he's just gonna flame the whole thing, and then he doesn't care, and then he like doesn't cry, but then he's like, oh, well, I can't cry because my tear ducts were burned out. It's just like, I don't really know where to peg Dobby right now. I don't know how much he cares about this man, how much he cares about anyone, if he is just one of those villains that doesn't care about anything. And he's just like, oh, I'm just here doing this thing because it's what I'm good at, it's what I do. You know, I don't care about the team, but I need the team, you know. Whatever. We have a pretty brutal moment that turns into a very sad moment where Twice saves Toga and Compress by stabbing a dude. Like, he stabs him a lot, and I'm like, that was like kind of dark for this anime. Like, getting stabbed multiple times is like gotta be a terrible way to go, and also to like show it on screen, I don't like that. But then it turned into a very sad moment where like he was so grateful for Toga, you know, like, you know, how she was there for him. And, you know, it does just add to that narrative that we're just we're people too, you know, like, yes, we're villains, but we're doing what we do because it's all we have, you know. It's because maybe society turned their back on us, you know. You know, maybe our quirks weren't quirks that could be hero quirks, you know, like, oh, Toga drinks blood, so she's gotta be a villain. But like, you know, it doesn't have to be, right? You can use that in a way, you know. It's like Shigaraki, oh, he decays stuff, he's gotta be a villain. It's like, I don't know. I mean, you know, you can, if heroes cared, maybe we could develop this into a hero quirk, you know. It's possible. But what else do we have? And then Twice dies, you know, like, I think he dies and then he actually dies, and I'm like, oh wow, wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting a character death in the beginning of the season like that, but we got one, you know. And it was actually a really sad one. Like, previous to this, didn't care about Twice at all. Who cares about Twice? But it kind of made me care, you know, again, like, you know, because his message and his purpose, I think, is going to live on, at least for a little bit, you know, throughout the League of Villains. You know, and through Hawks, where, you know, even Dabi was like, you killed Twice, you did that, you're a hero and you killed him. You know, I think that's gonna haunt Hawks for a little bit. And then moving on, we got Mirko was somehow able to break Shigaraki's tank. Mirko was the MVP of this whole season. I don't care what else happens in this season, who does what, Mirko is the MVP. Like, she is clearly the star of these first 4 episodes, where she is just destroying all these Nomu all by herself, you know. And then she figured out what she has to do all by herself, taking out the doctor, you know, cracking the tank, that way Shigaraki doesn't have any, you know, is you know, kind of halted, getting that like fluid that's gonna make him into something. Like, she's killing it, you know. She got like 17 holes in her limbs and she's still out here kicking. Like, come on, what do you, Endeavor who, you know? You know what I mean? It's great. And then Mike was the one that was actually, because of Mirko's help, Mike was actually able to shatter the tank, and he captured the doctor. He had a weird conversation with the doctor. Wasn't really a fan of that. Doctor's really creepy. But, you know, it's just nice to see everyone in action. You know, I think that's one of the things that My Hero usually does pretty well, is it juggles different characters. You know, like, at some point it's gonna have it. I mean, I think it already does have too many characters, but, you know, I think it does do a good job being like, hey, we're not just gonna show off this one character in season 2 and be like, all right, that we filled that character's quota. You can't yell at us about not showing this character anymore because he had a crazy dope fight in season 2. You got it, you know. Similar to Naruto, which I've compared this to last episode, but it's like with like Rock Lee, where it's like, you know, we saw him give Sasuke that work. We saw him give I can't think of his name for some reason. This Gaara, we see him see Gaara. He gave Gaara that work, and then we never really saw him again. You know, we saw him once more when he did the whole like drunken master type stuff, which was cool, but like, we just never saw him fight again. You know, it was like, okay, he had like the dopest fight in the entire like a top 3 fight, at least top 3 fight in all of Naruto, and then Shippuden we're just like, yeah, he doesn't exist. Just like, okay, cool, I guess, you know, you filled your Rock Lee quota. But you know, but with My Hero, they did a good job of like spreading the love, you know, here and there. So you know, kudos on that. And then it ends with a big cliffhanger. Oh no, Shigaraki's awake. You know, like, I didn't like when they gave X, whatever his name was, when they just put him by himself to watch Shigaraki. I'm like, ooh, I don't know, man. Shigaraki's pretty tough. Like, I don't know that I'd leave him alone. Like, I get the haste in getting the doctor back to stop the Nomu, but like, I don't know, man. Predictions on that, oof. That X guy might be dead. You know, Mike might be able to make the doctor stop all the Nomu, and then Endeavor and all them, Eraserhead come in, and uh, Shigaraki's gone, and there's just a pile of dust where that ex-hero should be, and it's like, ooh, not good, So, but yeah, that was the episode 3 and 4. Pretty good. Like I said, My Hero, I fell off of it a little bit, especially with season 5, but season 6 is starting pretty strong. These first 4 episodes, I'm in. I'm interested to see what happens. I want to see more fights. I want to see more tactics. Bad versus good, all that stuff. And a lot of good fights, a lot of good emotion. Like, they're solid. Definitely more into this than I was last season. So that's always good. Next, we got Mob Psycho 100 season 3. We got episodes 2 and 3. I only did episode 1 last time. 2 and 3. Let's see. So we got Reagan is sick of this guy's description. I just like how blunt Reagan can be. Because that guy kept kind of like annoying him. It wasn't really his energy. And then he kept going on about like the crazy demons and the yokai and this and that, and going into like the fairy tales and stuff. And Reagan is just like, I hate this. What is this man? Is he real? Is he playing me? Am I being punked right now? Like, what's happening? But then, he got offered 1,000,000 yen, and he was like, gotcha. I'll do anything you want. I'll take 1,000,000 yen. And that just goes to Reagan's character. We know Reagan at this point. We know he has a soft spot. We know that he knows, and we know that he cares. But on the outside, he is just that man. I need the money. I'm gonna sort of scam people. It's just gonna happen. It is what it is. One thing I did really like is when they eventually went to the yokai thing. I don't really talk about it too much because it's just a cool fight for the most part. But one thing I did like was, visually, I liked the black background with all the different cartoony eyes that are just like pasted on the black background. I feel like that was a really neat way of them not, after that they did actually show like the forms and stuff and the bodies and whatever, but like in that moment it's a very simple way to show a mystery and have it be scary, have it be intense because like that, that's scary. Like if you were just walking at night and in a shadow you just saw 2 glowing eyes staring at you, you'd be scared. You'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? And then if you saw like a dozen sets of like glowing eyes and just a shadow, you don't see the forms or anything like that, you'd be like, I gotta get out of here. Something may happen if I don't leave right now. So I just really like their like choice to do that. And then just with the fight as well, not really much to talk about. It's a cool fight, but it does still amaze me whenever Mob just destroys everything. Like all this time later, it's still so cool. Like that is one of the best things that I feel like the show does, is have an OP character that we still care about. There are a lot of anime out there, especially Isekai, that have OP characters that are just boring to watch. It's just very cookie cutter. And so Mob being super powerful and just beating everything, it doesn't get old. Like it's not tiresome. It's still like, oh yeah, I want to see him fight. I want to see the cool psychic powers he dishes out this time. And some things he doesn't just one shot. He does actually fight, and then it gets even more interesting. So again, that's one thing the show does very well. We had a nice comedic beat there where all the boys were maids. That was funny. Even Mob's brother, you could tell he was sick of it. So that was funny. Then we have them all worshiping the divine tree, which is just a piece of broccoli, an oversized piece of broccoli. But it's funny to see all the different groups come up with their own different like sects of this division, or of this religion, and they all believe something slightly different. They all believe that they're the true ones, the true voice of the tree. And it's interesting to me because I feel like that's what would happen in real life, where not everyone, of course, but a lot of people would. I mean, especially in a world where psychic stuff is pretty much like proven to exist, especially with like the fights that we've had, the very public psychic battles that have occurred in the city. Something like that would cause a lot of people to like worship it and be like, this is something that we have to pay attention to, obviously some more maybe rational people, more just like pure logic people, might just be like, okay, well, it's just a thing that exists, like let's take this thing out of here. You might not be able to. Again, a piece of broccoli that big might be hard to clean up, there are other like natural disasters that happen that don't take 24 hours to clean up, so I'm sure this will be difficult, but still. And then I like this season because the mob character is taking a big shift, where he is super not powerful. I don't know why I said powerful. Popular. He is much more popular than he was before, something that he always kind of aspired to be. He's making dates with a bunch of other people, doing like plans and stuff. And it's even to a point where like he might accept being the whole like mob religion leader, and there's also a nice comedic beat there where he's not really stressed out about being the leader. He's more stressed out about like the live stream. It's like, oh no, so many people are gonna be watching me. Like that's what he's stressed about. He's not stressed about like the responsibility of being a whole leader. But yeah, and then the episode pretty much ends with this like creature thing, which I don't really, I'm still not sure like where it comes from, but he just announced that he is the founder, and he built a little small divine tree. So that's a nice cliffhanger we got at the end there. I'm sure we're gonna figure out more of what this being is, why he wants to be the founder, what his plans are, what kind of powers he has, because he did make that smaller version of the divine tree exist. And then what Mob's gonna do, because Reagan saw that, right? So Reagan's gonna have some thoughts. Mob, I'm sure, isn't gonna love that. So we'll see. We're definitely dipping into another nice deep plot here. A nice antagonist. So can't wait to see that. And yeah, that was episodes 2 and 3, Mob Psycho season 3. Having a good time. Like I said, I'm just kind of waiting for. The first few episodes kind of waiting for the season to like kick in gear, because right now we're kind of coasting on like, oh well, we got Mob, we got Reagan, new jobs, whatever, but where's the beef? Where's that at? And I think this new founder is that. So I'm excited. Next we got Blue Lock episode 3. Love this show so far. I just want to tell y'all, love it. I believe this is 2 cores, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I love it. Isekai won rock, paper, scissors, so he's the focal point. That's how they decided. That's the most fair way. And he's going to be the focal point of the team, which is really big for him because he's obviously trying to prove himself like everyone else, but he's our main character. So him being there is like, okay, here's my chance. I'm gonna score. I'm gonna figure out, get deeper into the Blue Lock program, right? What else do we have? And then we're introduced to the other team. We got more characters. We got King Baru. That's how I'm gonna pronounce that. King Baru. He's just a beast, right? He's killing it. And I love introducing a character like him because, for one, with sports anime, I love seeing new characters, new very powerful, skilled characters, because it adds something to the show. Obviously, adds a new opponent, but also it ekes into the whole theme for the episode, which is kind of believing what they think the Blue Lock is supposed to be versus acting how a soccer team should. And like going from 0 to 1, that was a big thing with the episode as well. And having a powerful character like that and them scoring immediately deteriorates their team. And it's like, well, now we just all have to score. We're all thinking about ourselves, but that's what we think we're supposed to do. Versus Baru was just like, I'm scoring, and then other people, okay, we're past you, you score, gotcha, get you, and that's all it is. while Team Z is just eating themselves, basically. And so, I wrote down, like, these individuals are losing to a team. They immediately go feral. And they're like, well, I want to score because I'm moving on. And it's just like, yeah, but you have to win. And like that was a huge thing with me, especially towards the end, where it was like, oh, we could have won because of this. It's Isagi's fault. We lost. Blah blah blah. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, but because they were like, oh, that score was a fluke. It's like, okay, even if it was a fluke, that was the only goal scored. You can't blame Isagi for not scoring 6 goals. What you can blame is yourselves for looking like a goddamn WWE match out there with all the wrestling you were doing with each other, while Baru and the whole Team X were just dancing around you because you were all like locking arms with each other, trying to prove that you should be the striker. And it's like, we all understand the rule that was set out that the top striker is going to move on, but you have to win. You have to win. Like I get the whole ego thing, and that's what this whole Blue Lock thing is like centered around, but like you still have to win the game to move on. Like if we don't win, you lose. And then you get eliminated. Like big picture, guys, come on. Big picture. One of my favorite parts of the show so far, though, is the Isagi and Bakira relationship. They are a deadly combination, because they do kind of understand each other a little more than they understand the other characters, and so they do have this like special bond. And I love that Isagi and Bakira can just trust each other to be like, hey, forget these guys. These guys, their heads are in the clouds, but we're together, and we're just gonna score. And they're perfectly cool with passing to each other, letting each other score. Like that I think is like the nice middle ground that these people have to find. Because if they're completely selfish and completely riding on their own ego, you're not gonna make it far. It's kind of like a show I've never watched, but I understand because it is like a cultural touchstone, is like Survivor. Like reality shows like The Survivor. It's like for the first like half of the show, you have to play as a team, because if you only care about yourself, but that hinders the team. If your team keeps losing, they're going to keep getting voted out. You're going to keep losing, and it's going to be a snowball effect where you get eliminated no matter how good you are. So you have to work as a team, and then when it comes to the point where you can fully work by yourself and worry only about yourself, that's when you do it. You have to be strategic about these things. Early on, like something like this, where it is team-based battle, you have to play as a team, because if you let your own selfishness get in the way, then your team's just going to lose, and then you're going to be eliminated in round 2. It's like there's potentially 20 rounds of this soccer game that we're playing, and it doesn't make any sense, But anyway, Baru told Isagi he has no talent because he kind of froze and he got nervous and he passed. It's tough because from my personal perspective, he did what was right. But from the game, you're supposed to play on ego, you're supposed to be a striker. I can see both sides. And basically ends with them being told they need a weapon. You need a weapon. Strikers need a weapon. You can't just go out there free for all. You're not going to win. You need to hone in on what you're good at. You need to have a thing. And you need that to be the fear you put in the other team and the rising up of your teammates. A good striker will make that happen. Like Baru made it happen. He scored, gave confidence, gave a little bit of a cushion so everyone could kind of bounce off of him. It's like basketball. You got one guy that's hot, he gets double teamed. If one guy's getting double teamed, that means there's one person out there that has very loose coverage, if any coverage. You pass to him, he can score, right? You make the focus on you so you clear it out for everyone else. That's the strategy. So yeah, great episode. Like I said, I'm loving this. Sports anime is a genre that I've really come around on the past couple years. And Blue Lock is very solid so far. Very solid. I just really hope it can keep this up. I hope that the games don't get repetitive and stuff like that. But I have very high hopes for this show. So yeah, there's that. Next, we're moving on to the Eminence in Shadow, episode 3. I actually don't have too much for this one. I enjoy the show so far. I feel like it's getting a little disjointed for me, I'll be honest, but I feel like next episode it's gonna organize a little bit, because it's kind of been like, oh, we're in the real world and we got the stylish assassin or whatever, and now we have the fantasy world where he's a kid and he's really good, but his sister doesn't know that, but she kind of does, and now we have this episode where he's a student in the fantasy world, I think, maybe, and like, again, like, this episode kind of fell off a little bit for me. There was some strong stuff in it, and like, I'm nowhere near the point of being like, let's drop the show. Like, I'm nowhere near that. So don't get the wrong idea. But the show's starting to feel a little disjointed to me. But some highlights are, Kageno wants to be a background character, but the princess agreed to date him. That was a big moment where he's just trying to be like, I'm just fitting in the back, because I don't know, are they in the fantasy world or not? I can't tell. Well, there's fencing. Okay, I think in this episode they're actually in the real world. Well, yeah, they're on a train. Duh. Yeah, they're in the real world, but this, I think, is soon after his reincarnation, because his whole plan, like I said, is to start from scratch in a normal world and try to get to the Eminence of Shadow level. That's what I believe. I could be misinterpreting that, but that's what I think. And so this is kind of where he's at, where he's like, he wants to be a background character. He doesn't want to stand out. He wants to do everything in this super, like, mediocre way to prove that he's, like, worthy or whatever. Of holding, like, if I can earn this title in this way, then I'm truly worthy of it, But it flips again, where it turns out that the only reason the princess said yes is because she was looking for a loser like him, to basically avoid dating the other guy. She hates the other guy, right? And now Kageno is her dog for a price, right? Like, he doesn't have any money, doesn't really have a great allowance or anything, and so, he needs the money, and so she literally turns him into her dog, which is really funny. It's a funny little beat there. Where she's like flipping coins and catching them in his mouth. It's funny. But then it flips again, and we see some real stuff where they have a very layered, why does my hair look like that? We have a very layered conversation on the train about talking about things they like. And the reason I say layered is because it feels like they're both speaking in code, right? Where he's like, I love how it ends, where he says something to the effect of, what does he say? Like, if on the other side of the planet, if something were to happen that were to kill 1 million people, I wouldn't care. And she was just like, wow, you're like a vile monster. And he's like, but there are other things that, other people might deem worthless that I care about a whole lot. So he's like, I like your fencing. And she's like, what are you supposed to mean by that? Like what do you, like she gets super offended and like super like cautious. Like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, I don't mean anything by it. But if I did mean something by it, I just mean that I take great offense when people mock the things I like, or something like that, right? And then she like pulls a sword on him, she pulls the sword off of him, and then she leaves off the train. And the whole time it's super tense, and we keep getting these close-ups of both of them, like the hair over their eyes. You can tell they're super tense and super serious. And it's just like, man, this is something's happening here. Something's happening here. Because at first I thought it was gonna like dip into like the like rom-com aspect, and it was gonna be like a confession. But then I was like, oh no, they're talking about some real stuff here. Because they both gone through stuff. I mean, him, of course, he's been like reincarnated, so that's a whole thing. But like, there's about some real stuff here, like, I'm very interested to see where their relationship goes, but it's not really going to go anywhere currently, because we're left on this huge cliffhanger where the princess never returned to her dorm last night. The last person that she was with was Kageno, so now he's like the main suspect. He's getting like arrested sort of, like like the school, like sort of like the school version of Arrested. And so we'll see where that goes. Obviously, unless we have an unreliable narrator, we know Kageno didn't do anything to her. We know he didn't like harm her or kidnap her or anything like that. But who did? Who did do that? And what's he gonna do about it, right? Of course, he's super powerful, super skilled, right? He has his own way of thinking. Maybe he'll end up saving her. I don't know. I'm also interested to see what the whole business is. Like, why did she get kidnapped by somebody? Or maybe like, did she kill herself? Like, is that something that happened? I don't know. That's where the show's going. But like, a lot of mystery, a lot of unknowns. So, but yeah, like I said, just to cap off this one, it's feeling very, like, I keep using the word disjointed, but like, that's how it is. Where it's like every episode I feel like is like super jarring. Where it's like, oh, we're here now. Oh, we're here now. Oh, we're there now. It's like, I just want to stay in one place. Like, I get the setup. I understand the setup. Let the setup be the setup. Like, I want the show now. Like, I want to fall into what this is supposed to be. I don't need a million different time jumps. Let the show be the show. If we're moving on to this whole like princess being kidnapped thing, cool. Let's follow that plot line all the way through. Yeah. Next, we got More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers, episode 2. I love the show. I always do. What do we got? We got a moment where the storm really scared Akari. That's another like, sweet little moment where I'm trying to get points, but Akari shows a more vulnerable side of herself. A side that Jiro really likes, but also really confused by, and it's that thing where she's like, can't you for once, can't you just let me depend on you? Because Jiro hasn't really been like that. He's been super like nervous and anxious, about this whole relationship thing, this whole married thing. But she's just like, just once, can't you just act like my husband? You know what I mean? Like this whole thing, I know technically Jiro is our main character, but Akari's been the one that's trying. She's like really trying to make this work. And we know deep down, we've seen it, Akari more so than Jiro is definitely falling for them, definitely falling for the other. But like on top of that, like even just surface level, I'm trying here. Whenever I do something, it's just like, you want A tier, right? You want to switch to be with Shiori, so let's do some married stuff. Let's do some stuff so we get points. Everything I recommend, the whole cooking thing, the watching movies thing, the wearing matching pajamas. It's like, this is stuff's gonna get us points, and you're just like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. Why would I do that? It's like, are you dense? are you dumb? But yeah. I'm looking at the wrong thing now. Akari and Jiro got B, but Shiori and Tenjin got E. That's tough. So Akari and Jiro doing pretty good. They didn't quite get A yet, but honestly, not really something they have to dwell on, because they also need Shiori and Tenjin to get A so they can swap. We have a little bit thing there where Shiori's like, I'm not really good with boys, and I try my best, and I'm I don't want Tenjin to be upset with me and whatever, but I'm trying, and blah blah blah, right? But this really goes to the best flow of the entire show is Shiori and Jiro being together, and them kind of playing a little bit of cat and mouse, unknowingly, but they do play a little bit of cat and mouse. Shiori even lets out like, oh, I think it'd be so much better if you were my husband. And there's a beat there, and she's like, haha, just kidding, but she means it, and this is even further. I don't know really how much we've seen the first episode, but this is just reinforcing the fact that, oh, Shiori likes him too. This isn't just Jiro, swooning, over his like childhood best friend. It's like, oh no, Shiori likes him too, because even in the flashback when we saw, her having to tell him that she was leaving, she was remembering that, and then she said, man, would you hear me out to the end next time? Because he kind of cut her off because he was upset about her leaving. But we know from her end that she had more to say. Like, she it's kind of insinuating that you know, she might have confessed to him in that day, but she never got the chance to. You know, like, they both kind of blocked each other, but it was only in their own minds that the other one blocked them, you know. So we get, you know, some nice stuff of that. And then it ends off with Jiro will do his best so Akari and Tenjin can be happy together. And we get another, you know, that's two-pronged. One where it's like, okay, nice, you know, we have Jiro, like I was saying before, didn't really seem like he was trying too hard. He wasn't, his eyes was not on the prize, but now they are. You know, so now he's really going to try. He's going to do some stuff to get their points, get that A rank, right? But on the flip side, the other prong is that Akari is falling for him. You know, and so like one part of her is very happy that we're going to go towards the Tenjin goal, but another part of her is confused and sad that all of his focus now is just on you know, basically making it so they can split up, when there's a huge part of her that doesn't want to split up, you know. Again, like, it's one of them shows, you know, like, I love rom-coms, you know, so like, you guys listening to this, I'm sure as we go along through more and more seasons, you will see that about me. You know, I definitely gravitate towards the old rom-com. So this one for me is not super deep. You know, it is more of like a popcorn type show where it's like it moves very fast. It makes a lot of assumptions. It's very light, but it's still cool. You know, it's still cool. You know, it's still nice to see this relationship blossom, and you know, the decisions that we're gonna have to make eventually, because Akari's falling for him hard, but also wants to be with Tenjin. Jiro isn't falling as hard, but you can tell he's starting to melt a little bit. And then Shiori doesn't seem to like Tenjin all that much. We haven't really seen evidence of that, but she clearly likes Jiro. So it's like, at some point there's gonna have to be a decision made by somebody, by everybody, you know. But we'll see. You know, we'll see what actually ends up happening. Next we got Chainsaw Man. Oh man, look at this. Look at this, guys. Chainsaw Man. We killing it out here. Chainsaw Man episode 2. Let me tell you right now. Read the manga, love it, right? So I try not to get too spoilery. You know, I try to just stay within the episode. But this is incredible. You know, Chainsaw Man, it's just, you can just tell the difference. I mean, even in like the look and the feel of the show. Like, if you watch another anime airing this season and then you watch this one, it's like, it's just different. And it could be MAPPA. You know, MAPPA is the studio that does Chainsaw Man. They've done a lot of other really, really well animated shows. Like, you know, MAPPA is a powerhouse at this point. It just looks and feels so different than anything airing this season. You know, like, it's just so good. Like, let's move on. That's all I need to say. But no, we got Makima is both nice and scary. So again, all you anime watchers that never read the manga, just keep that in mind. Makima is both nice and scary. We have a nice moment here where we have somewhat of a confirmation that Pochita is still alive inside of Denji, so that immediately uplifts his spirits, because he, you know, that was his only friend and family for forever, you know. And to know that Pochita actually didn't sacrifice their life, they're still somewhat, you know, in some form or fashion alive, is very nice, both for Denji and for the audience. Because Pochita, we saw him for barely an episode, but we love him. You know, we love him, right? Denji is supposed to be shadowing Aki, but before that, we had a nice little tease here where, again, again, you guys, you're gonna see more and more of Makima's character and how nice and scary she really is, because she says, I'm into the Denji type of men. She's manipulating him so much. Like, we can't believe that Makima actually is into Denji. You know, like, we've seen just a little bit of how she talks to him and how she refers to him. Like, come on, we know what she's doing here. But I'm not going to get into specifics because no spoilers, right? But yeah, then moving on, Denji is shadowing Aki, and it turns out to them fighting because Aki is like, we need devil hunters that are in it for the right reason. And if you're just in it for the fame or the glory or the blah, if you're just in it for Makima, it's like, you're gonna die. And I've watched too many comrades die. I'm not gonna have you as a comrade and have to watch you die. And it seems kind of harsh in the moment, but I get what he could be trying to say, where it's just like, I don't want you on. I don't want someone that is going to die on my team, because I don't want to get close to someone that I know is gonna die, is gonna get themselves killed. So I don't want that on my conscience. So if you're not gonna be serious about this, don't do it. It'd be better for everyone if you just don't do it. And it turns into a comedic thing, because Denji keeps kicking him. It's just like so stupid, but it just adds to Denji's character, but they do come back, and they come crawling back to Makima, and they make good with each other. You can tell they still don't really like each other, but it is what it is. But all that aside, all the bad stuff, like, Power's here, man. Like, Power's here. I'm so hyped. I was hyped. I forgot when exactly Power got introduced to the show, and Power is incredible, man. Power is a fiend, so kind of the opposite of Denji almost, where like Denji, like Pochita, who was a devil, went into Denji, but Pochita isn't making the decisions. Like Denji is still in control, whereas fiends are when the devil goes into a dead person, and the devil is in full control, basically, right? So like the devil entered Power and is in full control. So it's like a fiend is when the devil is basically just using the human corpse as a puppet, whereas with Denji, Pochita revived him and gave him control. So it's very interesting. Power's great, man. Power is just the attitude and just the wildness, and give me blood. It's so good, and is a new partner, and it ends off in a crazy way, and I can't wait to see more of their dynamic. That Power is a bloodbender, which immediately reminded me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. We got Sakura, no, Katara, Sakura. What is Sokka? I was thinking of Sokka, which is the brother. Katara, the sister, could bloodbend. Very scary stuff. But that's basically what Power can do. Got the hammer on him, crazy, killing it, right? And overall, this episode, I loved it. I loved it mostly for the fact of introducing more characters and kind of settling into the groove of what I believe the show's gonna be. Again, not trying to spoil stuff, but we're getting into it where it's like, okay, what is this show? Oh, Denji's a devil hunter, and we're gonna go through that, and we're gonna see how he acts with that, and what crazy hijinks he gets into, and what also potentially sad stuff, and maybe some deaths or whatever, right? Because it is devil hunting. But then another piece of that is more characters, right? So we have Aki, who more like stone faced, right? More straight. Definitely doesn't like having Denji as a roommate. But then we have Power, who's on the opposite side. She's completely wild. She's literally a devil, right? But she's kind of in a similar position to Denji, where it's like, hey, if you guys don't produce, we're gonna treat you both like devils. And we're devil hunters, so it's not too hard to put two and two together on what your destiny is gonna be if you don't start producing. So yeah, I just love it. Again, I can't wait to see next episode and see where they go with this. Even though I have read the story, it was forever ago, so I don't really remember every single beat. So I'm excited to see next time when, I'm sure they're maybe gonna get some updates on how their progress is going, especially with them, Power just killed a devil, so that's +1, right? So we'll see, having a good time. Next, Reincarnated as a Sword, episode 4. Some good stuff here. Again, this is probably the show that's lowest on my list. The first 2 episodes I talked about how it has a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Episode 4 fallen off a little bit. Again, I'm not quite near the point where I'm like, hey guys, do you think I should drop this show? But we're on that path. We're on the path potentially to not continuing this show. We'll see, you know. Just because it's starting to get a little generic for me. It's starting to get a little like, I don't know if I care about the stakes too much. You know, I think next episode's going to be a real make or break for the show staying on, not another Isekai. You know, because I don't have very few notes about this episode. It was nice that she ranked up to F, you know, without doing the proper procedure for it. But clearly, the elf was like, anyone that can that can single-handedly take out an army of goblins should be at least F. Should be at least F rank. But again, this show does have some nice little lore moments that are kind of keeping me in. Where dungeons, because they have to explain dungeons, right? Like how do you explain a dungeon in like a real-world setting? Oh, well, dungeons were just created by gods, I guess, and they just pop up randomly to test humankind. And that's how you can explain dungeons just kind of appearing, being able to be replayed almost like a video game, and them having some crazy stuff in it that you don't see outside of the dungeons, like crazy monsters, and also some crazy rewards. Like, it's kind of a neat way to explain a dungeon, in like a video game-esque way, because like in a video game, you don't really care about why these exist. You just kind of go through them because they're an objective, right? So that's a nice little thing. Teacher got a sweet new scabbard. That was cool. Fran single-handedly cleared a path to the cave. Again, it's a character that I like to see that's OP, but I don't know how much we care. Again, I really want them to go deep into the drive of she's a black cat and she wants to evolve and she's going to prove everyone wrong. And I don't want them to deviate away from that and just make her, oh, it's a cute cat girl and she's overpowered. Haha, isn't that fun? Like, I don't want it to just be that, because then the show's definitely getting dropped. Because it's like, we've seen that already, like I want the character to have substance. And there's so much potential for her character, for Fran having substance, and I don't want them to slip off that. And at the very end, that goblin summoned the highest level monster, right? So we're going to see some crazy fight. And that's going to be fun, right? Again, it's cool. We got a nice monster we're going to fight. It's going to be powerful, I hope. Nice fight scene. Again, I just want there to be some traction, right? And I don't know that the show can keep it up. The first few episodes were entertaining. There was dips, there was highs, there was lows. Where's the show going though? Because we've introduced a couple different elements, and I don't want to just be an adventure show where it's like, oh, Fran and teacher go around beating stuff up. It's like, okay, but like, we've seen that before, and I guarantee you we've seen it done in a better way. I'm not trying to diminish this show, but like, we need something new, That's the problem. That's the whole reason why this show is called Not Another Isekai, because of the pure saturation of these types of shows that exist. It's like, okay, you gotta do something new. You have to. But we'll see. Next show, Do It Yourself, episode 3. This show's just a fun time, and this episode continues it. It's just a fun time. It's just, we out here chilling, and that's all the show has to be. We got a nice moment at the beginning there where it's like, hammer or handkerchief? And it's like, some would say that was meant as a joke. Others, who know Serafu, know that she was being completely earnest. And she genuinely offered her, what will make you happy, a hammer or a handkerchief? God dang. The exchange student, which at the time we didn't know her name, we now know her name is Juliet, blah 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 blah, and she's now nicknamed Jobco. So Jobco apparently hates DIY, but again, like, this show is very nice because it is just a chill show. Like, in my mind, all this show needs to be entertaining enough for me to keep watching it is just this group of girls building stuff and just having a good time, teaching each other some stuff, sharing some memories, sharing some fun little secrets, camaraderie. That's all it has to be, right? But, you know, I do like that they're playing around with some stuff more than that. Where Jobco, we get a little into her character. Her character's a little sad, a little bit alone, right? She's studying abroad. She's not with her parents. She's younger than everyone else. Like, there's a lot of stuff going against her, you know? And, like, so much that we feel for her when Ray yells at her. You know, like, we totally get, like in my mind, I totally get why Ray yelled at her, because she kept just dunking on DIY. And it's like, and like, that's what Ray's whole thing is. You know, Ray loves this club. She's the leader of this club. Like, don't come here in my house and disrespect me. Like, what are you doing? You know? So I totally get why she did it, but then it's like, she's just kind of awkward and out of place. You know, like, Jobco, again, like, she's alone. She's lonely. She doesn't have anyone. No friends. No family here. Right? And so she comes here crying, and she doesn't get laughed at. You know, she doesn't get made fun of. Like, she gets accepted. She gets handed a handkerchief, and everyone's nice to her, you know, and then they bring her to the infirmary, and she has some nice little bonding there. Like, she's latching on, you know, but you know, but she also doesn't know them, and she doesn't really know how to act around them. And she also, it's, you know, it's a coping mechanism where it's like, you know, a lot of other people, maybe she gets bullied, maybe she gets made fun of, maybe, you know, she gets ignored because of her age, and, you know, because of her being American, and it, you know, so that's kind of how she copes, and how she deals with and almost like ignores all the sadness in her life currently, you know. So, you know, that's why they kind of got off on the wrong foot at the beginning, you know. But then we go through, and you know, we learn that she actually loves DIY. She used to do it with her mom, and so not only do we have that connection, but it's I can't think of the word. That connection is amplified because she can't see her mom. You know, her mom is back in America, so it's like, oh man, of course she would love. Of course she'd be gravitated towards something like this, you know. And then it's great because Jobco, she's given the nickname. She's here. She's chilling, and she's now part of the club. You know, it's great for Ray because now I think they need one more member and then they're saved. But also, it's like a new friend, new character. Again, like I said, that's all the show has to be. Gaining new members, building stuff together, having a fun time. Maybe, you know, maybe there are some sad moments that they're all together for because they have each other's shoulders to lean on. Like, it's awesome, you know? And then we do have a nice little punctuation mark at the end of the episode where we find out that Jobco wanted to go to the high-tech school, but she got the Japanese wrong. And then she writes out the characters, and you realize that the two schools, from a foreigner's perspective, it looks fairly similar. You know, again, from someone who is, you know, native to Japan, it's probably like, yeah, they're two different words. How could you possibly they're two completely different words. But to, you know, someone who doesn't understand it, can't really recognize visually, they look pretty similar. We have a nice little moment there too. So, again, a more friendly moment where, like, you know, a friend can make a mistake and you laugh at them because they're your friend and they're dumb, you know. But you know, you're not laughing at them. You're laughing with them, you know. But yeah, so that it's just a fun show. You know, this is that show this season for me. We always have that one just like kind of slice of life show that you watch to have a good time. You know, there's no stakes. You know, like I said, Jobco does have some sadness to her character, but for the most part, there's no stakes. There's no real conflict. It's just a fun show to watch and have a good time. You know, you don't really have to worry about being tense in your seat while you're watching this, or on the edge of your seat, or, you know, worrying about like getting emotional. Why? It's just fun. It's just fun and stupid, and in the very best way. So I'm very high on this show. And then lastly, probably my favorite show this season that has no pretense to it, right? Because like, I mean, Chainsaw Man's my favorite show, but I've read the manga, so it's not really fair, right? Because I already know the story, I already know it's good, I've already seen it, so I would say my favorite show this season that I haven't consumed already is Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. I don't really know anything about Gundam. Gundam was always one of those genres. Mecha was always one of those genres of shows that I was like, I'm not gonna like this genre. I'm not even gonna approach it. I have watched the first few episodes of Iron-Blooded Orphans. I do plan on watching those again in the future, probably just starting from scratch because I don't really remember the first few episodes. And I remember really enjoying those, but I haven't really watched any Gundam. And so Witch from Mercury is a pleasant surprise. I'm very much enjoying it. There's multiple times during episode 3, which is the episode I'm covering, where I said that this is the best show ever made, which I'll say to myself a lot when I'm watching shows I very much enjoy. So with this one, episode 3, let's go through it. So we got Ghoul's dad added an AI to his mobile suit, and that's really a big thing that we'll come back to, so I don't really want to mention it a lot right now. Oh man, but it's so disheartening for Ghoul, Ghoul. We have a nice little reveal there where that lady, which I think her name was like Pandora or something like that, is actually Suleta's mom. So like, I don't know how much Suleta knows about her mom. I don't really remember. But that's a great reveal. Like that's really low key, where it's like the whole first episode or two, episode 2 I think maybe it was in, where it was just like, she was there fighting the people. She was Shinsei and all that stuff, and then realized, oh, that's Suleta's mom. Whoa, because it's like that's big. Like her being the advocate and like fighting for like the Gundam is not a Gundam, it's an Ariel, it's ours, like. And it being like, oh, that's the daughter. That adds a whole different element, right? We have some new characters that I hope we see more of, especially in their relation to Suleta. Like we had Nika, who was the one that was very excited to talk about Suleta, about her mobile suit. That was fun. She's also the one that was like the Earthian that was just kind of taking all the bullying. So it'd be nice if they become friends. I could definitely see it, right? We have Elan. Elan is one of the members of the dual academy or whatever, the dual administration. And he exchanged contact info with Suleta, so that was nice to get another thing off her list, which is a nice little through line of the show. I hope they keep the whole list element active in the rest of these episodes. He seemed cool, right? He seemed very, very non-partial to everything. And one of my favorite parts of this show is Suleta, right? And I just love her character so much because she is so genuine. She is who she is, to her core. And so, I love how genuine she is, even to Ghoul, where it's like, Ghoul was kind of getting made fun of by one of the other members. And Suleta stepped up and she was like, hey, stop that. Making fun of someone that decides not to run away from stuff is wrong, and like even in the elevator, Ghoul was like, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Like, don't you want to make fun of me too? And it's so indicative of both of their characters, because then we go into this whole spiel where she's like the whole, running away gives you 1, going through gives you 2. We give all that stuff to Ghoul now. And, you can tell that hits home for Ghoul, because with her, it's like she has a mom that really cares about her, instilled all of these morals into her, and she is why she is mostly because of her mom, and then you have Ghoul, who it's like I don't know anything, and we haven't really seen his mom, if she's still alive, I don't know. All we see is the dad, and the dad only cares about winning, only cares about like the family name and the reputation and the business and all that stuff. 4, we're gonna come back around to it in just a moment, but with the whole adding the AI to his robot, to his mobile suit, it's like that's just not in the spirit of things, And you can tell when she's going on this whole rant in a nice way, in a positive way, we see his facial expression, and it's like, this hits home for him, and he's just like, wow, like, I never really thought of it like that. He's like, oh, that's a nice philosophy. Like, he tries to play it off because that's who he's supposed to be, quote unquote. But like on the inside, you can tell like what she's saying is getting through to him, and it is kind of like making him think like, oh, I didn't really know you could think like that. Or, I didn't really know that that's a relationship you should have. Or, oh, I didn't really know that that's what honor means to other people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so good, and it ends in a way, and we're going to get to the ending in just a second too, of like that whole, the whole conclusion of that spark, right? I wrote down that this duel is a disgrace, because it is, like the whole AI thing is ridiculous, right? Where we find out that he's not even fighting. The sticks, the buttons, they're all moving on their own, and he can just sit there and cross his arms and just have the whole duel that way. And it's just like, but you can tell he doesn't like it, and we'll get to that in a second. But also like the rain coming out, it's like destroying her lasers, which is like one of her biggest weapons. It's just like, and then we get to the whole like philosophy of the school where it's like, oh, you're, whoever backs you is part of your strength. And it's just like, really, like you guys are okay with this? Like, I just can't imagine people who are okay with that just win. Like, you're just winning because of the people that back you, not because of your own strength or your own skill or your own intelligence. Like, you're okay with that? You're okay with other people winning for you? Like, where's the honor in that? Where's the, I don't know, this is wrong, and you can tell that like Suletta is the driving force that is battling this thought process in this academy, right? She's the one like, no, I'm dope, and I'm gonna be dope because I'm dope. There's no one backing me. I'm from Mercury. I'm a quote unquote country bumpkin. Like, nah, I'm nice. I'm the holder. Then we have, Miorine coming in the clutch top in the rain. Love that. Love how their relationship is developing. And then we get more into the dad. Dad's like, children should do as their parents say. And that's finally when Ghoul's had enough. He breaks the AI system. He's like, nah, I'm not with that. I want to win. Trust me, I want to win, but I'm going to win. Okay? It's like, oh, that's the child in you speaking. Adults know that only the outcome matters. And Ghoul's like, what? What? Excuse me? No. That's not how we're doing things, So he breaks that, and he loses, but he's very strong, and Suletta wins. That's great. It's awesome. There's still so much left on my list. I love that because I love how like dorky it is, but also it's sort of a metaphor for what she is and like what she wants to do. And it's like, no, I came here for a reason, and I'm gonna achieve my goals. On the surface level, you're just looking at the list goals of like, oh, I want to eat lunch on a rooftop. But if you look deeper, it's like, no, like I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be who I want to be. I'm gonna do this mobile suit stuff. I'm gonna make my mom proud, like, And then we have a cute little moment where Miorine rejected Mio. She's like, I'm sorry. It's like, no, that sucks. I hate it. It's rejected. And she's like, no, I want to call someone a nickname. And she's like, no, we're not gonna do that. But then we get the cliffhanger, and again, this all is the culmination of the Suletta and Ghoul rivalry, where Suletta comes out and like apologizes to him for underestimating him and saying that you're strong, and goes to give him a handshake. And in that moment, it all resonates with him. It all comes together at a head. And we have the kind of like funny part of it where he proposes to her. And she's just like, what? Which doesn't make any sense because like he more than anyone should know the like situation where it's like, well, I can't marry you because I'm the holder. And there's the whole contract where Miorine has to marry the holder, so you were the one that wanted to be the holder to marry Miorine, so I feel like you more than anyone should know that I can't do what you're asking me to do. very, very thick-headed. But also there's the deeper moment in it where you can see it in his eyes, where, you know, part of it is probably affection, but also like admiration and a realization that he lost, and while other people he may deem to be friends, would make fun of him and be like, oh, you lost against this country bumpkin, and you know, you're not the holder anymore, you're a disgrace to your family, your stock is going down, you know, whatever. Like, Suleta said, whoa, you're tough, you're really strong, like that was a great duel. Like, no one's ever done that before to him in that way, you know, no one's ever complimented him after he lost. No one in their right mind at this academy would do that, because all conflicts are settled with duels, and if you lose, you're a loser, you know. So it's great, you know. And again, it's awesome to have a main character like this, because she's the backbone of this show, you know. Like, she is going to make this show work, and I just love it. I just love it so much, you know. Like I said, I said this to myself when I was watching it. This is the greatest show ever made. I'm exaggerating, of course, but there's so much about the show to love, and I just can't wait to see more of it. You know, we're gonna see what happens with Ghoul. We're gonna see, hopefully, more characters become friends. We're going to see this whole relationship thing. We're gonna see them apparently trying to escape to Earth. More of the mom, hopefully. More of Ghoul's dad. More of Miorine's dad. Like, we're just getting started, I hope. You know, and I can't wait. And that is the show. That is the show for this week. Not another Isekai. Solid week. Like I said, there's a couple shows here that I feel like need to clean up their act a little bit, or else I might end up dropping them. But for the most part, having a great time. You know, I love it. Right. So please let me know what shows you love, what shows you love this season, what your thoughts are on any of these episodes. Let me know. You know, maybe what shows are getting a little hot for you, getting a little cold for you. Are there any shows that I'm completely missing that I should be checking out? I'd love to know that as well. What are your predictions for next episodes, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Not another Isekai episode 2. You can find this on the Tiger T YouTube channel or on some podcast services. I'm in the process of adding this to a bunch more podcast services, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, until next time, make sure to watch more anime.